opportunity to welcome you to this press briefing organized by the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, which is a coalition of 20 human rights organizations working in Zimbabwe. This press briefing has been necessitated by the ongoing attacks against civil society and its members, and also the work that civil society is doing in the country. I'm flanked here by some representatives of the members of the forum, and I will introduce the panel. First and foremost, I will introduce myself. I'm Blessing Gorejena, the Executive Director of the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, and I'm joined by Lloyd Gouveia, who is sitting to my left, who is representing Amnesty International, the Zimbabwean chapter. And to my immediate right is Justina Mukoko, who is the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, also the executive director of the Zimbabwe Peace Project. And next to Justina is Ms. Rosalind Hansen, who is the executive director of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights. And to the far right is Mr. Kelvin Fambirai, who is also the executive director of the Zimbabwe Association of Doctors for Human Rights, ZADA. Thank you very much. Without much further ado, I've just been joined by Chief Chiota, Mr. Edson Chiota, who is the Executive Director of ZACRO. Welcome, Chief. So without much further ado, I will invite the chairperson to read out the statement that we are issuing today, and thereafter I will entertain a couple of questions or clarifications. Over to you, Justina.
Good morning, and thanks for coming. This is our statement. The Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum, the forum, has noted with great regret the state's coordinated and systematic attack on civil society organizations in Zimbabwe through falsehoods in the media and arbitrary arrests of civil society leaders. These malicious moves are shameful and in violation of the fundamental rights and freedoms which the Zimbabwean leaders are sworn to respect and protect. In the past few weeks, the state, through the Herald, the Chronicle, its surrogate tabloid, The Patriot, and online publication, the Harare Post, has consistently published falsehoods against civil society organizations in a deliberate effort to criminalize the work of civil society, fuel hate, and undermine the integrity of the persons who work with and in civil society. On 15 May 2019, the Harare Post carried a report which maliciously claimed the Movement for Democratic Change, together with civil society organizations, had formed an organization, Organized for Change, or OFC, to spearhead demonstrations in a bid to force President Emmerson Mnangagwa out of power. The publication went on to mention by name the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum and its members, the Counseling Services Unit, CSU, Research and Advocacy Unit, RAU, Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, ZLHR, and the Zimbabwe Peace Project, ZPP. The forum dismisses this falsehood with the contempt that it deserves. On 23 May 2019, The Patriot ran a malicious article penned by an unnamed reporter under the title Savannah Revolution, Zimbabweans Beware. The article alleged that NGOs in Zimbabwe were involved in a plot to topple the government of Zimbabwe through violent protests. The forum's member organization, RAU, its senior researcher Tony Riller, and forum-coordinated National Transitional Justice Working Group were mentioned in the article as part of the plot to topple the government. From 10 to 11 May 2019, the exact days that Tony Riller was working at the RAU offices in Harare, the Patriot maliciously claims that he was running a regime change workshop in Johannesburg. The article proceeds to invade the integrity of Tony Riller in a hate speech fashion, calling him a rowdy. This terminology and general context of the article borders on inciting the public to hatred. Such conduct is deplorable in a democratic society where freedom from discrimination of any ethnic or social origin is protected by Section 56 of the Constitution. On Monday, 27 May 2019, the Herald and the Chronicle ran the same patriot story. International actors like the International Center for Transitional Justice, Facebook, Google, MTV, and Columbia Law Schools were also mentioned in the malicious article. The forum notes that this work of fiction is not without consequence. The state has in the past used the same media outlets to attack civil society actors that are known to be critical of its human rights record as a way of discouraging them from doing their work. The timing of the malicious articles, together with arrest of 7 human rights defenders on trumped-up charges, is a serious cause for concern. Section 61, subsection 5, subsection B, and Section 61, subsection 5, subsection D of the Constitution of Zimbabwe prohibit advocacy of hatred or hate speech and malicious or unwarranted breach of a person's right to privacy. The government, through state-owned media or other state machinery, must protect the right to privacy and desist from violating the right to privacy through disclosure of the personal history of human rights activists in the press, as noted in the article referred to above. Section 57 of the Constitution guarantees the right to privacy, and Section 58 affirms that every person has the right to freedom of assembly. Civil society leaders across the country have reported an increase in surveillance, office visits, and interruption of their meetings by the state. This has affected the ability of such organizations to implement initiatives which are meant to address challenges which are affecting communities. Civil society organizations are simply people organizing themselves to find solutions to problems affecting their communities. They are not enemies but partners for development. Their work is legitimate and must not be criminalized. The actions not only violate the Zimbabwean Constitution and international treaties, such as the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, but are also contrary to the spirit of the Cotonou Declaration on strengthening and expanding the protection of all human rights defenders in Africa, which speaks against the use of any measures which aim at silencing human rights defenders. Furthermore, the United Nations Declaration on the Right and Responsibility of Individuals, Groups, and Organs of Society to promote and protect universally recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms states in Article 5 that for the purpose of promoting and protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms, everyone has the right, individually and in association with others, at the national and international levels, to meet or assemble peacefully. Article 2 of this declaration makes it incumbent on each state to protect, promote, and implement all human rights and fundamental freedoms by adopting such steps as may be necessary to create all conditions necessary in the social, economic, political, and other fields, as well as the legal guarantees required to ensure that all persons under its jurisdiction, individually and in association with others, are able to enjoy all those rights and freedoms in practice. The forum urges the government not only to open up civic space, allow civil society and human rights defenders to carry out their work, but also to take the necessary steps to alleviate the suffering of citizens in the face of harsh economic conditions. The forum therefore calls on the government to refrain from criminalizing the work of civil society and allow CSOs and human rights defenders to do their work without surveillance, threats, intimidation, or malicious arrests. Refrain from attacking the dignity of human rights defenders and violating their privacy. Respect fundamental human rights and freedoms is provided in Section 44 of the Constitution. Stop the crackdown on civil society and human rights defenders. Pay urgent attention to the economy, which is threatening livelihoods and eroding the economic rights of the citizens of this country. The forum calls on the named publications to immediately retract their falsehoods against civil society and to stop the malicious damage on people's dignity. Failure to do so will lead to legal action against the publications, the authors, and the editors. Our statement ends here, and I thank you.
Thank you, Justina, for the statement. Now I will invite questions or clarifications. I'll take the first round, maybe of 5, if possible, and allow the panel to respond. And when you are making your intervention, please introduce yourself so that we can relate.
Yes. I'm Robert from Islam Media. If you compare Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe and now under President Emerson Mugabe in terms of the treatment to the NGOs and civil society, is there any difference?
I don't think we would want to bring up the issue of comparison. I think we basically are worried about when we look at violations happening. And at the moment, we are dealing with the violations that we are facing at the moment. And these are the issues that we would want to be attended to. The issue of how we are being criminalized as civil society organizations, and also the arbitrary arrests and the general maltreatment of human rights defenders who are basically trying to do their work. I'm not sure if my colleagues have anything to add.
All right. Thank you, Justina. Do we have any more persons? Yes, over there.
My name is Anna Chibam from newzimbabwe.com. I just want to know, besides this press conference that you have held today, or you're holding, has there been anything else that you've done to make sure that government stops harassing the NGOs, as you say?
Okay. And another question?
Okay, my name is Peter Ituet. Are there any plans for protests to go there, to have protests against the crackdown of human rights activists?
Okay. Do we have any more? All right. I'll allow the panel to respond.
I'll take the last questions on the plans for protests. As civil society organizations, we have specific mandates, and as you can see, the forum is represented by organizations that have very different mandates that are implementing activities specific to their areas of expertise. And none of the organizations sitting on this table is a protest movement or a protest organization. So speaking on behalf of the forum members, we do not have any plans to protest against criminalizing civil society and human rights defenders, but we plan to engage the relevant authorities through our work.
Okay. And what has been done in response to what is going on? As the forum, we provide legal support to human rights defenders in distress. And this is what we are also doing to support those that are arrested and incarcerated. We also provide psychosocial support in case they are assaulted or tortured. So in the general advocacy around addressing the human rights violations. So this is basically an ongoing process, and those are some of the responses that we are carrying out at the moment.
To follow up, I just want to know how many of those have been affected, how many have been arrested so far?
At the moment, we have 7 who are currently in detention.
Yeah, my name is Tafadzwanyi Kadzino from State of the Nation. You said state-sponsored press is writing malicious article fingering human rights defenders against organizing to subvert the government. Have you ever considered maybe taking legal action to sue those state-run papers if they are lying?
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
I just want to find out why in this particular moment the Mnangagwa-led government wants to criminalize your activities, your work. Why?
Okay. Do we have any more? I'll allow the panel to respond.
I can respond to the first question. I think our statement is clear. We have asked them to retract before we get on to other actions if they don't do that. I think that was the last statement that we had on our statement.
I'll respond to the second question. We hope that we'll get the answer when we engage them, because we are not aware of any criminal work that civil society organizations have been conducting in Zimbabwe. They have specific mandates and obligations, and they're trying to advance the promotion and protection of human rights, particularly those that are working on democracy and human rights. So we hope to get answers from those that are fronting these malicious falsehoods.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Sorry, Kumbere Mafane, a freelance journalist. You have, as civil society, previously engaged the African Commission and the United Nations mechanisms. Have you tried to reach them in terms of the sustained attacks that CSOs and HRDs are facing in Zimbabwe?
Do we have any more before we respond to that? All right. Any takers for that?
We hope that the government is going to extend the invitations to the special mechanisms of the African Commission and the United Nations that have been standing since 2011, when the government was reviewed during the universal periodic review mechanism of the United Nations Human Rights Council. And we hope once they are invited in the country, they will be able to offer the necessary support to government for them to be able to appreciate the complementary role that civil society plays in advancing development and human rights.
All right. Do we have, I can take the last round. Any questions, follow up, points of clarity? It appears there is none. So this will bring us to the end of our presser, and thank you all for coming. We will be issuing out copies of the statement that we've just read out today. And if you need to have any follow-up interviews, I think the panel is available to have a conversation with them. Otherwise, thank you very much for being part of us today.